This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode does not contain any spoilers, but does mention The Last One by Rachel Howzell Hall, along with Wizard of Oz, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and Cheers. For full list, please see show notes. There are also conversations surrounding cancer.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the fantasy, literature, and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are welcoming a very special guest and our new friend, Rachel Howzell Hall,
who is a New York Times best-selling author coming from the mystery thriller genre over into her foray into her first-time Romantasy novel, The Last One. Welcome, Rachel.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Rachel Howzell Hall, and I am the author of the new Romantasy, The Last One. I am so thrilled to be here.
Thanks for taking the time.
We are so excited to have you. We really appreciate you taking the time. It is so exciting to talk about your new book. I am so excited to really talk about your journey before we really get into your book, because this is not a surprise. You are a thriller crime author.
I am.
This is your first foray into Romantasy. This is so incredibly exciting. Just an aside, my father-in-law is also a thriller author. So I am familiar with
one of the people.
Well, no, but I am familiar with his kind of frantic writing style. Yeah. So, and he says like everything, his chapters have to be short. You have to keep everything like very, so it was interesting to show him some of the fantasy books that I was reading. He was like, how long are these chapters? How long is this book? Like, how do you keep the reader's attention for this long? So many plots are going on. So I am interested to hear how you made that jump, because wow.
Yeah. No, I am the author of 12 or 13 thrillers, suspense mystery. And I am like your father. I like chapters that move, that you keep the pages turning. And I think I brought some of that over with me from my original genre. My day job is I'm a fundraising writer at a medical center. And my job is to take very complex ideas and make them easy to understand for donors. And donors who can afford to give millions of dollars for research don't have a lot of time. So it's my job to like take a very hard concept and make it like that, really quick and snappy and easy to understand.
That 30-second elevator pitch for a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to know what is the cancer, what is this drug, and how is this drug going to either stop, slow, or prevent cancer altogether, and before they move on to the next thing. And so I'm coming from both that background and the thriller background, and so. I had read lots, fantasy as, just a reader, and going back to read it as a writer now, I did notice the very long paragraphs and, these big ideas over thousands of pages. And while that's cool for those authors who already have that kind of readership, for me, I wanted what I do, which is, yes, complex ideas, but lots of white space, because I know scientifically people's eyes get tired. I get tired, especially as I get older. And I read aloud. I read all my stuff aloud. And if I find myself just wanting to get to the good part, it should all be a good part, right? Everything should make you excited to read. And if something is problematic where it's like, I'm just rushing through this, I will circle it and consider whether I need to kill this darling or not. And a lot of times I will kill it just to keep the story moving. I that's who I am. That's the type of writer I am. And yeah, it's a different type of writing. I still think sometimes I go on too long, but I was told that was okay because my first draft of this story, my first few drafts, I came in terribly short, really, really short. My mysteries tend to be about 110,000 words. When I presented the draft of the last one, thinking I'm done, my editor like, "You're not done. It's only 120,000 words. Where are the rest? Where are the rest of the words?" And that was because I didn't build out the world enough. There wasn't, as much romance as there should have been. And I had to go back and really, really build out this world and include some of that in there. And that ended up, making the book longer and the paragraphs a little thicker. But it was all good. That's what I was supposed to do. So it's a learning curve for me to be okay with more words than what I'm used to.
Do you feel like when your editor said we need to bulk this up a little bit more?
Cried.
Did you?
I cried.
You're like,
No,
I
really
was so
did.
concise. Because of course, you're like,
yeah.
This is my best one.
Yeah. I was like, yes, I could do that. And then I hung up and then I just broke down and cried because so much was also going in my personal life. And this was like the pinnacle. This was that straw that broke my back. And, I drank that night. My family tended to me because we had gone through so much. And then I got up the next morning and I started again. And I built out that world and it got to be 200,000 words, which is way too much.
That's what I was going to say. It's like now you went to the other extreme and you're
exactly.
like, wait, let's peel back a little bit.
And I did. And it got to be at the correct word count. But, it's all good. I needed to cry anyway, right?
We keep it in so often. And then we're like, what? It's the one thing you were like, it's just the catalyst of the domino effect to release everything.
Yeah. And I went into it clear-eyed and, excited to actually put some of the stuff that I had researched, but I just didn't put it in there into this story that I absolutely love.
I am in awe truly of this world that you built. And of course, we both have our physical copies. We have them here. And of course, a fantasy book needs a map and we have a map here.
Isn't it a gorgeous map?
It's fantastic. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah,
it is
it's
lovely.
on my desktop because I'm working on the second one right now. And it's like, where's this place? What is that?
So when we're talking about world building, obviously, we have a map. So let's start here talking about our world building. Where did this world come from? Where did this story come from? We have details here that are just so lovely and so thought out and so alive in this world. What story is this? Where did this come from?
It came from, the story actually started with the heroine, with Kai. Every story that I've written starts out with one woman. And I always liken her to Tippi Hedren in The Birds. This one woman who goes into this place and things just get weird and out of control. And people blame her for that weirdness and out of controlness. And so Kai wakes up, in this grimy, dying forest outside this grimy, dying town. And she has to figure out, what is this world? Why do they hate me? What am I supposed to do here? What is even my name? And why do they want me to do stuff even though they hate me? So I started out, wanting to write about, what women go through every day, a lot of us. And that made me create a world very similar to ours. I always start from California because that's my home, but it can be anywhere, USA, anywhere, any of the continents where there is someone who is an irritant to that place. I really wanted this world to be a dying one because, all like mystery and thrillers, it's commentary on what's happening now. And what's happening now is, the world is physically sick. It's dying. And I wanted Kai to be affected by that because your environment does affect you. There's this sense of urgency that she has, but she doesn't know why she has it, because she doesn't know why she's there and why she should care. But she just knows that something has changed, and she's responsible for making it, whatever it is, making it right again. So that's where the story, came from. Me interested in women's struggles with who they are and what their roles are in the world, and those barriers that keep us from doing what we know is right.
Ooh. That's what
I know. I'm just like thinking about everything right now.
I'm going through the plot. I'm just like, yes, absolutely, yes. Wow.
Yeah, it can be read on the fun
Many
level,
levels.
but also then, I'm an English American literature major. So everything, and I was raised Seventh-day Adventist. So everything that I've ever learned in classrooms and in church basically went into this book. I used to work for the ACLU when I was younger. So, I'm very, very interested in politics and sociology. And so, again, every single idea that's ever bothered me or intrigued me went into this story and into this world with its different regions and what they call things and the animals that live there. It was fun. It was so much. And it was hard for me to do because writing crime, you kill somebody, there's a law in the books. You kill somebody, people will treat you the way they treat you, depending on how they view homicide, right? Here with this book, it's like I have to create that. I have to create the religion and, what love is and what gods and kings and all the rest. It was new for me to do that because I don't have to with my other stories. I just look up a law and it's, right there. And so it was kind of hard for me to believe that I was truly responsible for Valendor and putting all those, city and town and regional names on a map somewhere. And it all had to make sense. Like I just couldn't even, even down to what to call the moon and the sun. And you don't say feet because feet is different from kilometers. And even in, our world now, we call things different. So that was trippy for me to think about what to call things I see every day, but they're different in this new world.
Did it feel cathartic in a way, like even though it was difficult to create this world, that you didn't have to abide by the laws and structure and government that are in place from your starter genre? Because I feel like now you've explored it all. It's not cathartic. Okay.
No, it's stressful.
Because oh my gosh, I am a control freak. I am a list maker. Something blew my mind a few months ago. So I grew up as a child wanting to be either a Marine or a nun. I am not Catholic. And I thought it was because I liked the uniforms. My editor told me, because she knew how I grew up and everything, she's like, you actually like control. You like rules. You like structure. And both being a nun and a Marine offers
routine.
Both.
Yeah.
And my mind went, and it's like, that's right. Like I get mad when people cut in front of you in line and you've been standing there all day. So yes, creating new things that don't exist, while it was cool, it made me very uncomfortable because I've never had to do this and I had to rely on me and me remembering all this stuff and having to make connections where there weren't any. And I knew people would be reading it. And what if I make a mistake? And, I just spiraled and I, spiral and push past it and do the work. But then I'd come back and it's like, this is scary shit. And, unfortunately I was writing a mystery at the same time. So I did get my kind of injection of the existing world. And, that was fun. But then like working on the book, the second of this Romantasy series, I'm having fun with it now. Now it is a cathartic experience. Now it's like, I believe that I am God and I believe that this world is mine. And who are you going to tell me that it's not? Because it's mine. I created it. So now I'm in that place, in that special, special place where I'm like, I want, special honeybees over there. And I can do it because it's mine. I can do whatever I want as long as it makes sense within, my
within reason,
within the structure that you have built. Yeah. So it is easier to add upon that which we have already built.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to build ground up. No, I absolutely understand this. And then, of course, that's just the fantasy part of it, and then we add in the romance part of it. How is that?
Hard.
Yeah.
Again, I write crime scenes and not sex scenes, and it's like the first draft I had, them kissing one time on page 100 or something, and I'm like, done. And my editors once again are like, no, you are not, girl. It's a romantasy. And so it's like, okay. I remember romance. I mean, I've been married for almost 30 years and, we love each other, but we are not, newlyweds where you're blushing and hopping on each other all the time. So it's like, okay, that can come that's a part of the relationship that I wanted for Kai and Jaden. So for, the kind of lusty, banter, wit type of thing that really I like, I had to turn back to my young self and my bookshelf back here where there is, all the erotica books that I bought when I was like 20, 21, along with, the bedside astrologer from Cosmopolitan. I had to break those out again. And then I had to figure out, well, what romances do I like? And I thought, being a Gen Xer, I thought of those two romances that I really, really enjoyed. The first and most important one was Dave and Maddie in Moonlighting. That's Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis. I loved their energy. I loved their kind of zaniness and their back and forth. And then the second was Shelley Long and Ted Danson's relationship in Cheers, Sam and Diane. And it's like, I love them too. And, they're so different, but the writers had them going back and forth at each other, but there was something there. And so I turned to all that. And then I turned again to my marriage where we just will have random conversations about big things. And you don't have to say a word and yet what he's thinking. I like that. I was saying to someone that when I remember dating and going out with my sister to clubs and stuff, and we were at a gas station and these hot firemen pulled up in their rig. Oh my gosh, they were beautiful. And the most beautiful one started speaking to me. And that was the first mistake. He opened his mouth and he was dumb as a brick. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Isn't that almost always the case? You're like, you're so much better when you were quiet.
Yeah, they don't need to talk.
That was heartbreaking because I've tried dating dumb men and it is not for me. It is not for me. And it broke my heart that this beautiful, beautiful man was dumb. And so I wanted someone who could send back to Kai what she was putting out there with words, who was just as smart and cynical as she was, who could pick up the flirt and flirt back. I liked that kind of wordplay, foreplay. And so I wanted all these things for them. And, I wanted a grown people's romance. And, once I was okay with writing more and more and more romance in brewing between them, it started becoming fun, kind of like, all the rest of it. I really like Jaden. He's the type of guy that, you kind of want to make happy, to make his life better. He could be so morose sometimes. And so, what do I know? I make spoons. And it's like, no, baby, you're more than that. I like doing that. I like, her kind of like kicking him and then bringing him close and stroking his hair. It was a cool thing. And I liked that despite their issues, that he adored her, that he wanted to be there for her, no matter what, even in the end.
Well, even their meet cute, right? Like, you have Kai's sense of humor where, and I don't want to spoil it again, we're trying to keep the episode spoiler free, but their meet cute was very like, well, if I have to do what I did again for him to cross my path. Maybe it's not such a bad idea.
We've all had those moments where
I'll do it again. Not really, but like maybe.
Holy cow. Okay. Thank you, universe. Yeah. Yeah. No, I wanted him to be there even in her worst times, looking as horrible as, she does, because, it happens to real women sometimes, where you go into a space and you are just not yourself and everything is going wrong. And fortune just happens to smile upon you when you are wrinkled and stained. And that's how life happens. And that's how, they happen. He is there, and he's something beautiful that she needs to see in her worst time.
So we have talked about the fantasy. We have talked about the romance. I would like to talk just very briefly about something that I was not expecting, but it is a fantasy book, and shame on me, I should have. There's poetry in this book.
Yeah. Again, a student of the classics, big stories always have elegies or sonnets or something. And I poured everything that I've ever read and known into the story. And I wanted to include some elegies and odes and the rest of it. And that was hard. It's not really good poetry, but it's there. And, it I think adds to the story and her legend. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to mirror those tales of the great myths and the great legends, Kings, the Song of Solomon and Psalm, and all those beautiful books and stories of the past. So, yeah.
It's amazing. So you have so many elements going on. So here's kind of my final question when it comes to your writing process is, how do you keep all of this organized? So there's so much going on. And is that organization method that you are using different for this book because it is in a different genre? Here's the Marine nun control freak in me. I use everything available to me. So I am a outliner. I am the type who will have a to-do list. And if I do something off that to-do list, I will put it on the to-do list and then cross it off. That's how I am. So I outline using, just regular pen and pad, but then I use Save the Cat software, which is like this, it helps break down acts. I used index cards and Post-it notes. And everything is like really, really outlined. And I do that, one, because I still work a day job. And so I need some kind of structure to help me kind of balance that. And also for me, outlining so prodigiously allows me to follow the muse off the trail. And I feel good about following the muse off the trail because I know that I have this lifeline that I can go back to. It's the same process I use for my mysteries, but just bigger. Because now I have 3 separate comp notebooks titled, world shit, mortal shit, and God shit. And everything that I come up with, I put in those 3 Bibles. And I don't have to do that with my mysteries because I don't have to remember what a cow is called. It's a cow. But here now a cow is called some other thing and it's combined with some other creature. So so I have 3 separate Bibles that I keep. And my the copy editor actually started an Excel spreadsheet that I'm now using that has all the terms, who's wearing what, names, everything. And so I've added that to my load of organization.
Someone who loves control, loves an Excel spreadsheet. It's right? The best thing.
Right? If I could concatenate and do some drop down pivot tables or whatever, I would. But so it's my process just writ larger now. And I've always used this web clipper called Evernote, and where you see something and you clip it on the web and it saves it and you can index it and everything. And so I use that to capture pictures and articles and anything that's related to what I'm writing. I screenshot actors and swords and all the rest of it. So it's pretty exhaustive. And again, I don't have to do that with mystery because everything's here. I can go outside and see everything that I'm talking to within a mile. So I've just had to pay extra attention to, what color jewel is in this sword and what is etched on the blade and all the rest of it. And while I like details, it's a lot. Yeah, you don't go into writing these stories just kind of on a lark. It's a commitment to one time, but also in your brain, all the space that you're taking up thinking and creating. So it's fun. It's the hardest thing I've ever written, hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm excited that it's out now and that, people who have read it so far are really, really enjoying it.
And it's out of your hands. You can no longer do anything about it. Like the control. Yes. Like, oh my gosh.
It's done.
But
that's terrifying because it's done. Oh boy. Yeah.
Because then you share the vulnerability of like, because now it's not just the vulnerability of creating a piece of work that's rooted in the real world. You're creating the level of vulnerability of a world that you created entirely from scratch.
And that's scary because this is my very first attempt at either a romance or fantasy. And, I haven't had that type of insecurity in a very long time because I've written so many other books. And now I am a debut romantasy writer. And that's scary. It's terrifying because I know, there are going to be people who are like, well, it's not like Brandon Sanderson. It's not like N.K. Jemisin. It's like, I know it's not. It's mine. But, offer me a little grace. This is my very first romantasy written in 2 years.
I know we have so much grace and we have so much respect and awe of you. Like, this is amazing.
Thank you.
Of course, we're talking about your book, the last one. It is, listeners know I have no talent. I could not write a book, let alone something as fantastic as this. So let's talk about this just a little bit with keeping it spoiler free. Can you tell us, of course, we, Jessica Marie and I know because we have the book, but can you tell us kind of main characters and general vibes, and then we will go from there.
Yes. So of course there's Kai and Jaden, who is a blacksmith in the grimy little town where she finds herself. He is there with his sister Olivia, who is a bit of she talks a lot and she has sticky fingers. And she and Kai wakes up with Olivia in her life, and it's not the best first encounter. And so they have this kind of slightly antagonistic relationship, and Olivia kind of talks too much, and she and Kai go at it some. There's Olivia's girlfriend, Philia, who is a lovely creature with bright red hair, and she has some skill that Kai will actually learn and appreciate. There is Veryl, who will come into Kai's life as a father type figure. He's very wise and droll, and he reminds me of like RuPaul meets Tim Gunn from what's the fashion show? Whatever that show is. And then there's Cybele, who is like a mother figure. She is lovely. She is stern, but she has an open heart. She offers Kai lots of guidance, and she also will shame Kai quickly. So it's like this, hashtag found family in a way. And like family, they sometimes don't get along, especially when Kai bucks against what their expectations of her are. Everyone's telling Kai who she is and what she's done, and she doesn't believe it. And most of it comes from her main antagonist, which is Elin, who is this splendid figure who is hunting for Kai across the realm. She has a bone to pick with Kai, and Kai has no idea why Elin is after her and what she's done to piss this woman off. So yeah, in a way, it mirrors a mystery, a suspense thriller with the red herrings and the betrayals and the reversals and all those fun things that, I write about all the time. And with characters who you don't know what their motivations are. You don't know who truly is bad, who truly is good. And really, is there any kind of polarity like that? Or are we all kind of a mix of good and bad, which is what I believe. And it was fun putting them in different situations and Kai reacting to their reactions of what this world has become and how she may possibly be responsible for how crappy this world is. So a big, loving, cranky family of people traveling across the realm, trying to figure out how they're going to survive bad things.
Do you like moths?
I have come to learn to love moths now. When they're fluttering at our light at nighttime, I don't swat them away anymore because it's like, y'all are actually kind of really beautiful and you symbolize so many things that I never thought about until writing this story. It's weird because butterflies have a better publicist, I guess. You look at a butterfly and you go, "Ooh, they're so beautiful and graceful." And moths, oh my God, they're going to come and eat my clothes. And it's nighttime. And why are they so loud? Because you can actually hear their wings and all that. And I appreciate them now. I find beauty in them. And I really didn't until I saw the artwork for the cover. And when I saw the artwork for the cover, I actually went back and changed the color scheme for Kai, because I wasn't really thinking about it. And that, again, as a crime writer, I don't have to think about color and all the rest of that. I don't have to think about aesthetic. I don't have to think about much except, if she's wearing cute sneakers or how her, it's a whole different world. But now it's like, I need to know really how things look. And so when I saw the artwork for the book, it's like, I can work with that. I can launch off of that and create this whole other meaningful part of Kai's story with this graphic.
Do you find yourself building out the story? I know we talked about your timeline and the organization and kind of veering off course from the structure. Now, with you working on to book 2 and this book, do you find yourself thinking about the next steps for this book, in your, just in the day to day? Is this where your mind gravitates towards?
Yeah, which is funny because, again, I am crime. My lunch break, I sit on my couch here and turn on Discovery and find one of those HLN shows about she walked into a room and lit it up and everybody loved her and then she was dead. That's what I love. But now I find myself thinking about this story and these people so much more. It's a weird kind of transition. I think because it's the cranky, louder child than mystery. It demands more attention and consideration from me than my mysteries, which I've written since, my first book was published in 2002. And so I've been writing that type of story for that 24 years now. And this is brand new and demands, I believe, all 98% of my brain now, whereas mystery doesn't. It's a weird kind of switch because my love still is crime, but, I think about this story a lot. And as I'm building the world out even more with the second book, it's ever constant in my head. I wake up at 4:00 every morning to write. And I cannot wait to get to my desk to keep building out Valendor and Kai's adventures and her continuing to understand who she is and why she's here.
Well, and I think something that everyone can relate to is that part of Kai's journey is a huge part of it is self-discovery. And, we're talking about crime a little bit. There's a little bit of crime in here, just a bit. So, and I find that very interesting because, as we have said, like Kai wakes up and there's crime, and she has to kind of chase her belongings throughout the story. And, as she is chasing her truth, as she is like learning about herself, this is her self-discovery, while she is also has her goal at the end of like, that is my true self. I need to have that. And it's always dangled just a little bit out of the way for her.
You got it. Oh my God.
Media literacy. Woo. But one of the details here, and we're talking about moths, is that there's a necklace, and the necklace is very important for Kai, and she kind of feels it as her heart, as her center, as the thing that gives her like the most strength with, and then coupled that with all of her accessories, like she would then feel to be whole. But there is this thread running through here of don't let anybody like tell you what you need to be whole. Like you are
girl,
your.
You got it. I'm going to have church right here.
Well, I just find this to be such a beautiful story that is here on top of all of these. We have like monsters and beasts and very friendly monsters that come and help us later. But the core of this is like finding yourself as a woman where everyone is telling you what you are. And you're like, you know what? I don't really think that's right. Even though it's coming from places of authority, and then learning and having to kind of sit with everything. With the reveal. It's all very powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Because sometimes, you're right. And it's like, are people really getting it? Do they think I'm just blathering on and on and on? There's something I'm saying here. And hearing you all say these things, it makes my heart, it really, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I appreciate you getting that and understanding that.
Well, it's a testament to you as the writer. You're the one who created this. Yeah.
Yes. Truly.
Well, does a tree make a noise if it falls in the woods or whatever?
It's amazing. It's amazing stuff. And this all came from you. And it is just wonderful. And while we're on our womanhood self-discovery, we're also like quite literally on a journey through this world. Like we are trekking through, like we are going to all these different places that you've created. We're experiencing reception in different towns. We're going to hotels. We're meeting people. We're really, I know you're talking about expanding the world in book 2, but we're pretty fleshed out here. Like we're pretty good to really experience and get like a real good feeling of what this story is about. To then give us all of these twists and turns at the end. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Absolutely fantastic. Because it becomes then so much of a bigger story, because we start here and then we learn and it becomes so much bigger, and our worldview opens up and we love a bigger picture. And that is wonderful too. And all of this is a testament to you. And just my last point from here is that we have our father figure who's like writing our poetry, who we have reveals with. He's like learning. It's very wonderful. But he's also this like thread of wisdom that we have going through here. Just kind of going back to like, don't let anybody tell you who you are. Don't let anybody, keep you from being whole, because someone might not want you to be your whole self.
Yes.
Let me tell you, I was like, you know what? That, And, I just going back through kind of my own personal life, like, you know what? That's really good. That's fantastic. And then to sit with that, and then to have our character, Kai, sit with that, and then kind of go back to that with our reveals at the end. It's just like, okay. All right. Yeah. Fantastic. So these plot twists and reveals, did you have that in mind when you started this? Or did you have the end of this book in mind? Like, how did this kind of come about? Because, wow.
I didn't. I knew kind of what the end would be. I just didn't know as I was writing it and following my outline, um, how how she'd arrive there. Um, so yeah, I have a general idea, but when you're writing, it sounds good, but it's like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say this thing over here. And again, I relied on real life. I have a daughter, and she's 20. And when I started this, I think was she starting her first year in college. And so lately I've been writing a lot of stories thinking about her. And as she's learning and going to new places and meeting new people and trying to figure out away from social media who she is. And, in college, that's where you start learning about the bad things around you and what you actually believe. And are these people really my friends, or what are they? And even for me, as I'm 54, and by now you think that I know everything about myself. And it wasn't until my husband's parents died, and then my father passed, that I hadn't met that part of me, the Rachel that was more. And then our dog died while we were away at Thanksgiving. And that opened up a whole new section of Rachel Howzell Hall that I had never met before. And it's like, this is interesting. I am still getting to know me and how I work with all this new stuff that's now popped up in my life. And then I was thinking about my husband's grandmother, who, a very religious woman, had been a deaconess in church all her life, just a really good woman. And I remember one of the last conversations she and my husband had was she had hoped that she had done enough in her life to go to heaven. And I'm like, man, to be almost 100 years old and to still wonder if you've done enough, that's wild to me. Because, she was the one who would make the communion bread and do all the white linens. And she was a good woman. And here she is still wondering. And so I'm taking all this into the story where I get to talk about everything. And now my character she doesn't know who she is and what will be her discovery. How will she react when she learns that everything she thought was not what she thought, that none of these people are right about who she is, that she isn't even right about who she is, because she hasn't met all of herself yet. And that wasn't planned as much as I thought. That was all vibe. That was what I was feeling at the time. And I'd always written about the idea that we are all villains in someone else's story. And I kind of just built that out because even for Kai, does she think she's a villain in her own story? She doesn't think she's the heroine. What does she think about herself? And so I wanted all these people in her life who had different opinions about who she was. And I wanted Beryl there to kind of be that Jiminy Cricket, to be the what's the guy, the salesman in The Wizard of Oz before Dorothy goes off to Oz.
Yes,
I wanted that type of character to kind of remind her that everything isn't what you seem, and you're gonna have to take a journey to discover those places in you that you assume are there, but you don't know. You just have heard from other people that, oh yeah, you're a nice person. You lit up the room every time you came into it. You like lemon meringue pie, and do you like these things? Who are you? So yeah, hearing you say all this, it really does make me feel good as a writer, because these are big ideas, and sometimes they're uncomfortable ideas because we're supposed to trust people, but we're not supposed to trust everybody. That's impossible, and that's very dangerous for me. And again, I'm thinking about my kid who has friends, but they're not really friends because they don't want you. They get upset when you become the main character in your life. They don't want you to shine, and they're telling that to you in very subtle, heartbreaking ways. And So I all this angst I feel as a woman, as a Black woman, as a mother, and as a mother to a young woman and a young Black woman, it's all in this book. And I continue with the worry and the anxiety in book 2 because, our journeys as people and as women, especially now, it won't end. We are charged with doing the impossible, women are. And as we move forward in doing the impossible, we're still discovering and we're still making, mistakes, but we're still, winning some things. So it's all FUBAR and it's all in my book. And I got to do something that I don't do as much in mystery, and that's just to talk about big ideas along with other big ideas and how all these big ideas relate it, because identity is close to, religion. Identity is close to sexuality. Identity is everything. And I got to bring everything into the last one. And for a writer like me, that it's been so exciting, even though it's been hard. It's been so exciting and freeing and cathartic in many ways.
And the lived experiences that are like just immersed in here and who we are as people. Because like you were saying, and Laura and I would talk about this on the podcast as a whole, is when you revisit things and you revisit your work, who you were when you started writing it and who you are even 2 years later, you're like, oh my goodness, like where you were in a point in your life or reflecting on the growth that you've done there. And then you get to not only see it from that POV, but also as you continue into this confirmed duology.
Yeah, it is. So the next story is
with multiple POVs.
Right. No, that's very, very true. One of my favorite, if not my favorite, no, it is my favorite movie of all time, is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And there's an interview that Steven Spielberg does where he's talking about how Roy, Richard Dreyfuss, at the very end goes into the spaceship. And Spielberg says that he wrote Close Encounters before he became a father. If he had been a father, he would have never had Roy go onto that ship and abandon his family. There's no way in hell that he, as the writer, he could have left his family. And I think about that because, what happens to you in your life and the people that, you bring into your life, they change what you would have done before they come into your life. I look back in my writing, and there's one story that didn't sell after I wrote my first book. And it was a story about a single mom. And I read it a few years ago, and it did not ring true. I wrote it before I had my daughter. And it's like, she'd never do that. Why the hell did I write that? But I didn't know, because some things you have to live through in order to write authentically about that. And I think, me at this point in my life, I'm glad now that I've had the chance to write Romantasy, because for me, it's a richer experience, because I do have a lot of wisdom from, growing up in this part of Los Angeles, from being a cancer survivor to being a cancer survivor while being pregnant with my daughter, being a day jobber, living through these crazy political times. It feeds my soul, and it enriches what I'm writing and what I think and what I want to share with those who pick up my books and read.
We've hit here, like this is the audience. It's it's the fantasy audience. We get to have that discourse because, the art that you're creating is immersed in the world that is surrounding us, and that is books and fantasy and romantasy in general. And we couldn't be more grateful that you continue to share that and are continuing to write and expand what we're all going through in vastly different ways.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am so grateful that you all are here and that you bring writers on like me to talk about these ideas, art and entertainment. And it is a blessing to be able to do this kind of work.
Truly, it is a blessing and an honor to have you with us here right now. Jess, I am wrapped with my questions. You?
Yeah, I feel like some of the questions that I have, we've kind of been like, I'm like, oh, check off this. We're covering it.
You must be a professional.
Yeah. But we just want, where can we find you? Again, this is your episode. We know you have some events coming up. I think I might have peeped a Barnes & Noble event at Union Square.
Yes. And so my first event will be December 4th at the Rip Bodice in Culver City, 7 o'clock. Tickets are required. So please join me there. If you can't do that, then yes, I will be at the Barnes & Noble in Union Square on Saturday, December 14th at 11 o'clock. And I am in Jordan Fisher, who is starring in Hadestown right now, will be my conversation partner. And I want to scream, ah! I'm so excited.
Yeah, did you reach out? Like, how was that orchestrated? And if you want to, we can edit that right out too. I'm just so curious.
He is a friend of Red Tower. He reads all, and
he's huge in fantasy. I know that. Like,
huge. And he reached out to, I don't know if it was Liz or Merrick, one of the publicists, that saying that he wanted to help out with the last one any way he could. And yeah.
That's awesome.
No, when I said his name, my daughter's like, she immediately like gasped and was like, oh my God, really? Because she remembers him from earlier stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking Broadway and she's somewhere else because he was in some other things. And yeah, no, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And in the Union Square Barnes & Noble. But that's being a writer where you're just never free of, anxiety and being neurotic. So I hope you come and you could be the third person.
I'll bring my art.
Yes, please. But yes, you may find me at www.rachelhowzell.com and also on Instagram at Howzell Hall and on Blue Sky. I still have Twitter, but I don't know.
It's the fading away. Yeah.
It's fading away.
I'm hearing more people are utilizing Blue Sky.
Yeah,
so I feel
exciting.
like that's the next venture we have to start in the social realm of things.
Yes. But all my events are going to be on my website. And of course, I will be posting them everywhere on Instagram.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate you. We appreciate your work. We appreciate everything. Truly, this has been just a wonderful, wonderful experience, a wonderful book. And congratulations on your Romantasy debut.
So much. And thank you for inviting me on the show. I really, really enjoyed my time with you guys. And I can't wait to meet you in person.
Oh, yes. Thanks so much. And we will talk to you soon. The last one is out December 3rd. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Please feel free to follow Rachel on all of her socials. We'll make sure we have those in the show notes. And also, please feel free to follow us. We're on Instagram, ACOFAE Podcast, and we're both on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.